So penetration test, what is it? This is attacking vulnerabilities. This is using tools, processes, methodologies to try to see, can we breach your defenses? That's what a penetration test does. A vulnerability scan is not attacking. You're actually just checking things. It's just a tool that says, do you have all these things that you should have, like patches, and does your antivirus work, and is it up to date? It's just checking all of these things, and it's doing it around a wide range of assets. So let's take a look at the next slide here. And as we're looking at this and going into this deeper, this vulnerability scanning becomes a really important one because it's something you're expected to do in many of these insurance systems. They're expecting you to be doing regular vulnerability scanning. So it used to be a question like, do you do this? Do you do a vulnerability scan? And think of it this way: if you're not on the technology side, like most of us, administratively, you do these maybe annual assessments. Maybe the board gets together or the finance committee, and you review the audits, and the audit says we should make these improvements or improve these controls. Vulnerability scanning in the cybersecurity space is the same kind of risk management process. And you can do those vulnerability scans externally, internally, which we'll talk a little bit about more. Penetration tests, like we were saying before, is about attacking and trying to exploit a gap in your defenses. Whatever, you forgot to patch a machine, someone's using a simple password that hasn't changed in 10 years, whatever the case may be, these tests are designed to take advantage of that and tell you that, hey, you've got a real risk here. An attacker could easily take advantage of this. And we were able to do that. We were able to discover it. And a pen test might be something like a internal pen test, where you're actually attacking as if someone's machine on the network got exposed, and now that person is attacking your applications or attacking your servers or attacking your network. And then there's external pen tests, and this is the more common one you see, where you're actually testing from over the internet, from the outside, trying to get past the firewall or whatever perimeter defenses that you might have. So that's the two technologies. Now, these are not the only assessments that are out there. In fact, vulnerability scanning has 2 or 3 types. Penetration tests, we just named 2, internal and external, but there are many types of penetration tests. Vulnerability scanning is usually based on a location where you're going to test a large group of devices. Penetration tests are usually based on an IP address. You're targeting an IP address or a device, a host, a site, a website on the network. And you'll see this now. A real common thing in insurance, if you haven't run across before, is unrelated to the IT team. That insurance company will do a test of your website. And if your website isn't secure, then they will say, hey, we can't insure you, or we have to give you X grade on your insurance because your website's not secure. So you got to fix that before we'll insure you. And many times, folks inside of a nonprofit or inside an organization aren't even thinking about the website as being IT related. But for cybersecurity, it's one of the ways that insurance companies quickly go and check your security. They're using tools like these, and they're scanning, and they want to see how much of a risk you are from the outside. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I've been talking about what these tests are in the cybersecurity assessments, but let's just really summarize this in terms of what it really is. From where we sit at Varsity and where I sit when I consult, and where many of you, if you're in the executive seat or on the CFO administrative side, this is about compliance. And I often, have this struggle when I'm meeting other firms out there in our space, and they want to talk about all the details about how the technology works and the testing tools and hacking and white hacking. But for the rest of us, this is really about compliance. And we all have different levels of compliance. And that, depending on what the compliance needs to be, we determine our levels of risk. I mean, we as executives, managers, owners, whatever, we determine that part of the risk. And so I pointed out 4 things that we see often. Either it's coming from the board of directors, it's coming from a finance or audit committee, or it's coming from the executive team or just the CFO. One is obviously government regulations. Now, the one that you hear a lot, and we'll look at this next, applies to many organizations, but many of our nonprofits, even if they don't fall under medical type of regulations, this falls in. The other one, of course, being insurance liability. We've been talking about that already. Governance, that's the big word out there when we talk about governance within the organization. You're seeing this even in the for-profit corporate world, ESGs and so forth. Governance has always existed in nonprofits. there is an obligation around governance. And now we're seeing that intersection of cybersecurity and governance. And then the other one is business disruption. These are the four things that I've heard over the past many years from executives and CFOs saying, hey, this is what matters. I don't want to go into a board meeting and being asked these questions and I don't know the answer.